Hi there. So I thought I would make this informational video for those out there who struggle with trees in their bushes, their shrubs, their gardens, and they had maybe somebody who came along and just chopped off the top and just let the root continues to grow, and it just keeps on sending shoots, and they're just very difficult to deal with because they're always growing up in your bushes. And if you're like me, you'd like to get them over with, once and for all. But most people think you need a tractor to pull one of these out, and you might if you don't follow these instructions here. So here's one that I pulled out recently. You see how how big that root is? You're not pulling that up by hand. No way. Even if you're the strongest man out there alive. So I'm going to go over the tools you're going to need for this. Now, you can vary them based on your particular circumstances, but a large pry board of some sort. Notice that this one's about 8 feet, but it doesn't have to be that. I'm using a 2x6 because you're going to need a lot of pry force. Now when you go to pry with it, it's going to need to be this way, and you put the corner in, and that's how you do it. Now you want to put well, we'll deal with that in a minute, but right now that's going to be your lever. All right. You don't have to have one, but you can have a clamp. Now this will be used later. I'll show you how it's used to on the rope. You're going to need some screws. Now, one thing I'm going to say is you're going to want more than likely steel or iron screws. You do not want stainless. You don't want brass. The zinc coated, the plated screws will be okay. That's what these are. But you're going to need something with a little strength. So the stainless and stuff like that, if it's all you got, you can give it a shot. But that's what I would recommend. All right. You're going to want some kind of block or something to put under your fulcrum point when you go to lift it. And the reason why is because that point will dig into your ground if you don't have this, and it may reduce the amount of leverage you can put on it.
Wolverine.
A racker's crowbar. All right, this is an indispensable part of anyone's toolkit. It's so useful in so many ways. So I would always recommend having one of these, but it's particularly useful for those medium to small size trees that are just too big to pull out by your fingers or hands. But still, you don't need a full-on lever to pull them out. Okay, so this one's indispensable. It's also great for digging around larger trees that you need to pull out by the lever. You can go along the sides and hammer it in. All right. Speaking of which, a hammer. Now a hammer is also very indispensable. You can use any hammer you want, anything weighted that you can bash, even use your block for that matter. But the best thing to do with a hammer is to prep. We're going to go over here. I'm going to be pulling out three of these tree roots down here. All right, so there's one there, here's one here, that's the largest one, and there's a smaller one over here that we're going to use our racker's crowbar for. All right, and you can always tell how much force you're going to need by wiggling them a little bit back and forth. If they wiggle easily, it's not as much, but this one, you see, it takes a lot of force to wiggle that one. That's going to be a tough booger, so we're going to pull that one out first. Well, we'll pull this one out with the racker's crowbar first to show you how that's done, and then we'll move over here to this one, use our lever, and that one finally. Okay, now but one thing that I would do with the hammer while we're here, sorry, is for the big ones like these, you want to prep them by knocking them a little bit. That'll loosen them up. All right, that way you see it's a lot easier to move around now. All right, you're not going to be damaging your bushes so much when you do this, because you're basically transferring all the force into the ground, and the ground is what's loosening up around that piece. We can also hit this one a little bit to get that one loosened up. They're both pretty loose now, so that one's not so bad anymore. All right, and you ready? All right, two of the final things you'll need is something similar to this stone chisel, but it can be a straight crowbar or anything like that too. Something that's got, you know, kind of flat that you can put along the tree and kind of feel around for any side branching that's close, because those side branches will impede your ability to pull it up. And you're going to need something to drive your screw into these larger ones. So, and I use the screw, I put one across in a very thick part of that root to prevent my rope from slipping off. You see, that's how that works. It'll act like a T. All right, so here we go. We're going to use the Raptor's crowbar first to pull our smaller one out. We're going to come over here. All right, in order to pull the smaller one out, the easiest thing to do is to put this the crowbar as close to the base as possible. You want to, I already dug around these to expose some of the root. That you'll have to do that too, so you can get enough material there to actually work with. So all I'm going to do with this medium sized one, I'm going to take those where it normally pulls out nails. I'm going to take it and I'm going to put it right there in the middle of that. Then with my thumb, I'm going to help it dig in. All right, so when I do that, I'm going to start to move it back like that. Okay, and there you go. And you can keep doing that. You can keep basically ratcheting it out till you get the piece out. You see? Now that's a smaller one, so we can do that with stuff like that and a little bit smaller. The more material you have, the better. And I'm going to show you right here. It goes right in there like that, and those corners will dig in, and you just have to press it and bend it over it as you leverage it out. There's one. Now for the other one, this one's not going to work. It's too big. So for this one, now there's a very, very specific way to do the knot. All right, so I'm going to show you now how to do it. All right, so you do want some kind of mat or knee pads or something to get down here, so you're not putting your knees in rocks and mulch and things of that nature. All right, so you want to get, after you've got it exposed, that's a big deal, you want to get as low as you can on this and get your loop. You see how I've got it looped like this? Now the reason I do this, there are several reasons actually. You want two ropes going around this tree to give you as much traction as possible versus one. The more the merrier, but you also want to be able to exert some force on it, so you don't want too many, or it won't have enough force, and it'll just kind of, you'll get pieces snapping off. Now you go through that loop with both of your leads here. All right, you pull it through, and that way you don't have to cut these off. We didn't cut these off to prep them. It's best if you leave as much material on the tree as possible. Like if it's grown out, that's fine, but you want to cut off anything that'll get in your way here when you're working around it. So any kind of little twigs, these aren't such a big deal, but once you do that, you want to cinch it down. Okay, so it's nice and tight on there. All right, it's cinched. Now do it as best as you can. Now the final thing we want to do is get your driver here and your screw and put it just above your loop. Now what this is going to do is it's going to make sure that you're and now you don't want to put it up here, because this is going to split. You don't want to put it right here because it's just going to pull through. You want to put it in a really fat piece, preferably in a Y like that, because the grains are kind of chaotic in that area and they're not going to allow for the screw to pull through. All right, so you want to leave it about half and half on either side, you see. So now it can't pull out. All right, we're good. So once that's done, I'm gonna get our mat out of the way here. We're gonna get our board and set it right next to this piece, all right? But we want this piece in this situation. There are some situations where you want it to do the other way, but you want it to come up to the top here, but you want to leave enough room over here to actually provide a lever. So make sure that you're not on the very end over here and you're not in the center, because you don't want to have your fulcrum too far up here, or you're going to be using more force. We want to make it easier, not harder. So a good rule of thumb is somewhere between 1/4 or like 2 feet on this side, and 2 to 3 feet from that end over there. That's a good rule of thumb. Now what I do is I come over the top, and the reason why I do that is because we want to keep a good line between the tree. If I put it down here, then I'm going to have to move it more to get it out. I've got this locked in and tight right now. I'm going to take this and I'm going to wrap it around this point and pull it. And it's okay if the board kind of moves in that direction when you do that, because we're going to kind of try to keep this rope as straight as possible when we actually use it as a lever. All right, so here we go. We've almost got it here. Now the final thing we want to do, and it's not required but it's recommended, is to put your block underneath the fulcrum point over here, so that when you go to move it, that corner is not digging into the ground. All right, so let me get some stuff out of the way of the camera person here so she can get in and watch this as it comes out. All right. There we go. Come on.
You start pulling that.
All right. I'm gonna get in there. And now, when you go to pull this, you need to have your other hand, or one hand holding this and keeping it tight. You see, I'm basically putting pressure down there. All right. So your rope kind of needs to be long enough. All right, you ready? Now here we go. All right, so, and that's all there is to it. You see, now we basically pulled that whole root out right there. I'm gonna do the bigger one the same way. All right, that's how easy it is. So in order to release it, you just take it and you take that loop right there and you basically slide it back along and you rotate it, and there you go, you can remove it. And guess what? We get to use our screw again because it didn't bend. So let me get it back out here, and we're gonna get the other one in just a sec.